Namaste everyone and welcome. So here we are with Anchor to Light meditation. So let me just fix this real fast. Okay. All right, so here we go. And this morning we talked about do not give nuts to people who don't have teeth. If you missed that, just go back and study it. Essentially is we let people grow at their own rate. So tonight we'll just change topic a little bit. Let's talk about how you can be in many places at the same time. You know, you always hear of stories. Oh, I heard of teachers doing bilocation. Or you heard of great teachers like Sai Baba of Shiri, where he appeared to many disciples at the same time, hundreds of them, maybe thousands of them. And you hear of stories where certain great teachers, when people meditate, they appear to all their disciples all over the world simultaneously. So we'll talk a little bit about that to just kind of expand your knowledge on these things. And it's not as far out as you think. All right? So before we start, let's ask for blessings. To the Divine Supreme God, Divine Father, Mother, to all the spiritual elders, holy masters, saints, archangels, holy angels, and spiritual helpers. Personally, to my teacher, Master Chow Hok Sui, Mahagu Jumeling, we humbly invoke for divine light, divine love. Thank you for your guidance, help, healing, and divine protection. We thank you in full faith, and so it is. All right. So first of all, just to kind of talk a little bit about foundation. So let's just say we have a piece of paper, okay, and you live on this paper. So that's 2 dimensions, right? 1 dimension is just like this. 2 dimensions, you have length, width, that's it, no height. So if you live there, essentially you can only go forward, backward, left, right, that's it. There's no such thing as going up or going down. That's 2 dimensions. Once you add this, then you have a cube, right? If everything goes up, you have a cube, and in that cube, I don't have a cube here. Essentially, if you have a cube, we have height, length, and width. So right now, as you look around, basically everything is 3-dimensional. And when we're doing something, we always say, oh, okay, I'll meet you somewhere. And if it's a physical place, you have to say, okay, I'll meet you on the corner of this street and this street. So when you say corner of this street and this street, you're basically doing this, and you're on the bottom floor. But if you say, oh, I want to meet you on the 5th floor in this building, so essentially, what are you doing? You're going, okay, longitude, latitude, and then 5th floor. So that's 3-dimensional. Okay. Now to look at it another way, again, a lot of you know this already. This is just to put it in everyday English. If you have a 2-dimensional world and you have something that's 3-dimensional, imagine, if all you can see is on this plane, if this 3-dimensional thing is going through it, all you see would be that line, the cross section. Make sense? So a 2-dimensional being will only see something in 2 dimensions. A 3-dimensional being, like for now, our sight, our touch, our perception of the world, science-wise, is 3-dimensional. So if it's 3-dimensional and something comes around on the 4th dimension, it'll be very similar. We will see not a line, you probably see something that's 3-dimensional, like if you have a cube, imagine something comes in that has 4 dimensions. I'll talk about it in a minute. As it goes through it, you will just see what our perception, our brain can comprehend that's 3-dimensional. So it could look like a cylinder, could look like a square, not a square, a block. It could look like, something long. But it always has those 3 dimensions, height, length, width. Okay? Now, so what is the 4th dimension? Depends on who you talk to. One level of knowing, remember, different levels of truth. We always talk about this. You talk to the physicist, some physicists will say 4th dimension could be time. The 4th dimension could be time. So Einstein puts it together, you call it space-time. Right? For some of you who are new, you go, man, that is too weird, don't weird me out. Well, let's put it this way. When you're going to meet someone tomorrow, and you say, okay, I'll meet you tomorrow, you need 2 things. 1, or 2 pieces of information. 1, where? That's space. And when? That's time. You cannot have one without the other. You cannot say, I'll meet you. People are going to say, huh? Where? Oh, okay, I'll meet you at, in this building. And what's the next question you're going to ask? When? Right? If you say, okay, I'll meet you at 3 o'clock. What's the first thing you're going to say? Where? You say, well, I do it online. Well, there's still some perception of space. We say online, as in we'll meet somewhere on the internet. And it's not like, okay, I'm there. You have to log into something, go to a system. So there's still that part of it that is spatial. Okay, now, so that's one understanding of fourth dimension. Some physicists who are more anal about it say, look, okay, time could be, but let's just really look at it spatial dimension, not just a dimension. So that means you have 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions, right? Height, length, width. 4th dimension, just imagine, the easiest way to understand it is, whatever the dimension is, you add to it. So if I have, it's going to be interesting. Okay, let's use this. So you would not argue that this is a 3-dimensional thing, right? It's got height, width, and depth. All right, now, so the 4th dimension, just imagine each side also has a cube. So here, there's a cube, here's a cube, here's a cube, here's a cube, here's a cube, everywhere. So wherever you see as a 3-dimensional side, a side of a 3-dimensional object, you add another cube to it. In this case, would be outside of it. You say, okay, that's still 3-dimensional. Not really. Because our perception is height, length, width, and so on and so on, right? Now just imagine, you cannot use visualization in this one. So you just have to go to what is Einstein calls a thought experiment. You have to kind of understand it in such a way that, all right, I see that. That's inside. This is outside. So that's still 3-dimensional, inside, outside. But you see, right now when I say inside, and outside, you have to kind of go, okay, now I'm looking inside. Now I'm looking outside. You're still traveling within 3 dimensions. Because inside means you're going a certain distance, length, and then a certain width, and a certain depth, or height, whatever, yeah? So a 4th-dimensional perception, that's why I cannot show it to you physically, is just imagine you see it inside and outside, top, bottom, everywhere, simultaneously. Of course, some of you have studied physics, that's called a tesseract. And I remember when you go to Greece, number 4 is tesseract. 4, tesseract. So the movie Avengers, remember the tesseract, supposed to be able to go to different dimensions? That's where it came from. Now, what's it got to do with you and me? It's as simple as this. I remember many years ago, I was talking to my teacher, and he didn't really say dimensions. He was describing clairvoyance, the ability to see aura, chakras, see light around people, and so on and so on. So if you were to do an experiment, this is one of the things we teach in the higher clairvoyance class. If you had somebody stand against a wall, you look on top of their head, most people, even if you're the numbest, not dumb, numb, as in not very sensitive, given the right light conditions and so on, most people will see a light around their head. In fact, if you were to stand in front of a mirror and then turn the lights down, just have a little bit of light, and you just relax, keep your tongue in your palate, and you just gently put your attention on the mirror a few inches above your head, most people will see a light on top of their head. Now, simple question. Is that in the physical dimension? Is that height, length, width, and depth? In your perception, you would say yes, because it's a few inches above my head. And then some of you, when you start turning, you say, I still see it, but it's like a dome on top of my head. That's basically the aura of your head. So at some point, as you're looking, oh yeah, But when somebody else just walks in and looks at it, go, I don't see anything. Or when you're looking, oh, I see it, you go, wait, I want to get a camera. I want to get my phone. I'm going to take a picture. Click. Nothing there. Question is why? Let's kind of oversimplify this. Watch. If you have a two-dimensional being, anything that's three-dimensional going by, you see as a line. However, if that three-dimensional thing passing through a two-dimensional world goes like this or like this, in your perception, that line disappeared. Make sense? So if you're an ant, A-N-T, not your aunt and uncle. Ant, creepy things. Okay. If you're an ant here, and you, assuming you cannot look up or look down, you only look straight. So if this three-dimensional object goes through, all you see is what? A line. So you go, oh, I see a line. And then, assuming that it's wide enough, you keep looking, oh, and it keeps on, you see the line. If this three-dimensional object, which you remember, the ant can only see two-dimensionally, were able to move vertically up or down, which is the three-dimension. Remember, the ant cannot see height. So what would happen is, oh, I still see the line, suddenly the line disappears. Or this way, the line disappears. I think you're getting it. So when a clairvoyant is looking at the energy body, the energy field, which is not in the physical dimension, I think you're getting it, right? They actually have to turn their frequencies beyond height, length, and width. So that's another interpretation of fourth, fifth, and higher dimensions. So when they're seeing the aura, the chakras do not exist in the three-dimensional world. That's why most people cannot see auras, because they expect it to be physical. Then you take it one step further. What else? They're expecting to see it with their physical eyes. That's why when we teach clairvoyance class, people are like this. I can see it. And then when you say, whatever, when you tell them, don't worry about it, and they start trying, they go, okay, whatever. Wow, I see it. And then the minute they focus with their physical eyes, poof, it's gone. You know why? Because the instrument for detecting the three-dimensional world and detecting the fourth-dimensional world and higher are different. Most people make the mistake to think that I use the same instrument to detect the physical three dimensions with the, let's just say, non-physical fourth and higher dimensions. That's why most people, if you say, okay, you want to see the aura, you want to see the chakras and so on, you teach them to see it with the eyes closed. Oh yeah, come to think of it, I don't see it, but sometimes when I close my eyes, I see stuff. Exactly. That's where science and spirituality has a gap. But I'm lucky enough, I'm blessed enough, my teacher is an engineer, and he's able to bridge the gap. So if you have a clairvoyant look, person who's properly trained, here's what happens. Watch. So 3 dimensions: height, depth, width. So physically, I'm looking at like this. True? But if you have a very advanced clairvoyant look, guess what happens? Okay, just relax. Your brain might explode. What happens is, when a clairvoyant is looking at this, they're seeing the physical 3 dimensions. Simultaneously, they're seeing inside and they're seeing outside. At the same time. At the same time. So, translation. When you have an advanced enough, and I cannot emphasize not advanced, not one of those, I see the aura, I'm a clairvoyant. It doesn't work that way. I'm talking about somebody who's been properly trained by an advanced teacher. When they look at your energy body, they're basically seeing your physical form. Simultaneously, they're seeing the energy body. They're also seeing inside the body and the particles of that energy at the same time. So it's just a matter of their consciousness and their brain. Can their brain and nervous system register it and gives it some form of space. That's it. Oh yeah, my brain hurts. Anyway, that's just an introduction. Now, what's it got to do with you? And what's it got to do with bilocation, trilocation, whatever location? The easiest way to understand this is the way my teacher explained it. He said, if you have a TV tower, like with broadcast TV stations. So if you have that tower and it radiates a signal, a TV signal, whatever movie show it's playing, right? So depending on the power of that transmitter, that tower, will determine how far it goes. So the radius of where the tower is to the edge, within that entire space, the signal is omnipresent. Translation, that data is in every part of that radius simultaneously. So that's why if you have a television set, anywhere you are inside, although we say radius this way, but it means like it's a big old sphere. So that means that if this is a TV tower, anywhere you have a TV here, they get the same signal. Now imagine that every signal, every part of that field has data, which it does. It's called the transmission. It's called a TV show, whatever you're watching. So all you're going to do is to have a receptor. Now, instead of a TV, think about it. You, the soul, the spiritual self, when you strip yourself of the body, the emotions, and thoughts, you're a spiritual being of light. And which direction are you radiating? Everywhere. Same thing. So it's all dependent, well, not all, but substantially dependent on one thing. How much energy there is to be able to broadcast that information. The more advanced the soul is, that means they have a strong spiritual connection to God, source, whatever word you want to use, that means that energy radiates further. So just imagine if you have a great spiritual teacher, an angelic being, an archangel, their aura, which is the energy that permeates different worlds simultaneously, the physical three-dimensional world and higher, simultaneously radiate in every direction, not just in 3D space. So if you have one spiritual being in a certain dimension, meditating or praying or generating, doing a blessing, you could be in Africa, you could be in your house, in England, you could be wherever you are. When you're praying or meditating, you sense that that particular teacher or angelic being is right there with you. Now, you're still looking at it from a 3D viewpoint. Oh yeah, I'm meditating, I see the teacher sit in front of me. Oh, it was a great experience. I see him, her, I see this angelic being talking to me. You see, the limitation there, it's still our perception of the three-dimensional world. That's still the limitation. Now, some of you who are more sensitive, when I say sensitive, it means your instruments are more, how to put it, they're able to register the signal more, even the faintest signal coming through towards you. That means the upper ones are also the upper ones, when in other words, your antennas from in the high frequencies are also more sensitive. Some of you go, yeah, I saw this angelic being, I saw this great teacher, but I don't hear them saying anything. Not a single word. But I know what they're saying. Sounds familiar? Or some of you have relatives that has passed on, and you see them, and you go, yeah, I got visited by my grandfather last night, but it was the weirdest thing. We were sitting down in my dream, in the garden, and we had a talk, we were drinking tea, and he said this, I said that, blah, 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 so on, so on, so on. That's what you're explaining to someone when your body woke up. And that person says, oh, I see. So where we go? Oh, we went to this garden that we used to go together, when I was still a kid. So it was good to see my grandfather again. Guess what? That never happened. I think I'm blowing the top of your head, huh? It never happened. There is no tea, there is no garden, and there was no conversation. That's all still three-dimensional interpretation. Maybe I should have this conversation in a more close group, huh? Because this is broadcasting everywhere. It might sound like heresy, or people might think I'm crazy. Anyway, I started it. Let's just finish it. Anyway, it's just a small part. Later on, when we have a more interesting group, we'll dive more into it. I haven't even talked about application yet. So here's what happens. All it is there's movement of information. See, you have a physical body. That's three-dimensional. Your emotional body, mental body are beyond the three dimensions. It's already beyond it. Okay? What's called astral body, mental body. But it's still, to a certain extent, limited by a certain level of three-dimensional constraints. But you, the soul, the spiritual self, do not have those constraints. You're a being of light that radiates in every direction, in every dimension, simultaneously. If you can wrap your hand around it. So, here's what happens. In that dream within you and your grandfather, basically what happens is you, the soul, and your grandfather, the soul, energetically, just imagine you have two miniature suns radiating light, and that light is everywhere, and the information contained in each light is also merging in every direction. So what happened? How come we had this conversation? Because your brain and your nervous system is forced to interpret it in a way that we can understand. In a similar manner, you have this two-dimensional something, this being, who only is flat, only knows front, back, left, right. When this three-dimensional thing goes across it, all they see is the line, right? It's just a line. Why is it a line? Because their consciousness can only interpret a three-dimensional object in a two-dimensional way, because that's the limitation. Our brains are limited to three-dimensional space, but your consciousness is beyond the three-dimensional space. Now, to mess with your mind a little bit more, then you add Einstein's input into it, then it really screws it up completely. Okay, space-time. General relativity. Every time you have mass, it distorts that space-time. That distortion of space-time is what you call gravity. Although I'm talking to ordinary people, I'll say, yeah, gravity, the law of gravity falls to the earth. Nobody knows that. Even Newton just observed it. He goes, okay, if I drop this, it hits here. He calls it gravity, but he even admitted, I don't really know what it means. He was able to make a calculation of it, right? It was Einstein who said, okay, for every time you have mass, it's just like this mass is swimming in this nothingness, but somehow it distorts everything around it. The bigger the mass, the bigger the distortion. It is so distorted, even light bends and is distorted. That's why if you take a clock, an atomic clock, have it close to the surface of the Earth, and you have a clock in the space station, that one on top moves faster than the one below. The closer you are to the ground, the stronger the gravitational, actually it's gravitation, it's not even a force. That gravitation, that distortion of space and time moves slower. So yeah, your head is older than your feet. You say, oh yeah, that's hocus pocus stuff. Not really. Because if the satellites were not calibrated based on this, your GPS will have lag time. They have to slow down the time on the GPS, on the satellites, so that your GPS, which is on the Earth, will sync. Otherwise, if they go about the time that is in space and the time here, this is moving faster, this is moving slower, it will not match. So what's got to do with you, the soul? It's very simple. That's why when you're doing your deep meditation, haven't you had that experience? Wow, that is wild. As if time stopped. And then I tell you, by the way, that meditation was 10 minutes. You go, 10 minutes? Some of you say, it almost felt like 30 seconds. And some of you go, that was 10 minutes? I couldn't even tell. It felt like I've been asleep for 3-4 hours. Exactly. Make sense? You go, no, but it's interesting. Because of that, when you do your meditation and spiritual practice, you have a better perspective of life. This is just one of the short applications. I'm working on this thing called the I Am Project, this is going to be part of it. Okay? So when you're experiencing yourself as the spiritual self, so that means your consciousness is going beyond the third dimension, going beyond the fourth dimension, and who knows higher. Some people say, oh, I know, fifth, sixth. Yeah, right. You don't know what the heck you're talking about. You're using three-dimensional knowledge to describe something that's beyond three dimension. That's when people say, yeah, I've been to the sixth dimension. Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. No clue. It's just like saying, I went to the 7th floor, the 8th floor. Hello, there's no building. We're just using a term called dimension and using numbers to designate the changes in spatial perception. So that's why we're trying to make it a little easier to understand. In theosophy, in spiritual teachings, they say different planes, not that kind of plane. Different planes of existence or different dimensions. Different, for lack of a better term, it's not really the accurate way of saying it, but we just use it so ordinary people can understand. Different frequencies, just like AM frequency, FM frequency. But that's not really very accurate because those are electromagnetic frequencies, which are still, to a certain extent, limited by three-dimensional space. Okay, anyway, I think I'm weirding you guys out. I got too carried away here. All right. Anyway, all this to tell you, when you do your meditation and your spiritual practice, it's a way for you to withdraw your consciousness out of the three dimensions, which is where things go wrong and things go well and all those things that happen, and you're able to be at a space that there's total stillness and peace. And then when you have that total stillness and peace, when you dive back in to the three-dimensional world, you coming in with a different consciousness and awareness. Okay? That's that. Anyway, that's already half an hour. I can't believe that was 30 minutes of me yakking. There's more to it than that. But at least I'm giving you, in my limited knowledge, for I don't know everything, a limited understanding of how spirituality and materialism actually are one and the same. Just depends on which dimension you're perceiving it. Which dimension you can perceive it. Now, just to weird you out a little bit, I listened to one scientist talk about this, about UFOs, unidentified flying object, or unidentified something, I forgot what military calls it. And it's interesting, if you look at some of the things that were released to the public, they see a tube, like a tic-tac. They go to the tic-tac going like this, and there's no sound. It's just there, poof, disappears, and it shows up again. Or they see these lights, and they see it moves at like incredible speeds with no sound, and it defies the law of physics because we're still using three-dimensional physics. So, according to one scientist, I didn't come up with this, but it makes it easier to understand. Watch. You have this two-dimensional plane. Imagine this three-dimensional object is going like this. Okay? Even if it's slowed down, the perception of somebody who's just two-dimensional like an ant, they would see, I see a line. Or the line got shorter, got longer, disappeared. So when it disappeared, it's not because this thing disappeared, it went outside of the two-dimensional space. It's still sitting on top of that ant. So when they talk about these so-called aliens, it is very possible, according to the scientists, the reason that we don't hear anything, you don't hear like engines, you don't see anything of propulsion. How could they do this? You know, there must be so advanced technology. Yes, the technology is advanced, but at the same time, it is so advanced they operate probably a dimension beyond the 3 dimensions. So when they see, oh, I see this, take that, and then it disappears. It's just like you have a cube. Now they're inside, and then when they move around, they're now outside the cube. You don't see them, but they're still there. When you're doing your meditation, oh wow, I just got visited by a great spiritual teacher. Oh, the teacher left? No, they didn't. Number one, they never came, and number two, they never left. They've always been there. So it is because our 3-dimensional thinking has to make sense of it as if I'm going there, coming here. Haven't you heard? If any of you ever lost someone, you know, the body died due to whatever reason, you know, sickness, accident, or something, what happens? The ones who are more sensitive, they sense their presence still there. Because they never left. Consciousness exists in every dimension simultaneously. That's what you call oneness. Just to give you an example. After this, we'll meditate. I think I weirded you guys out too much already. So, oh well. Anyway. When my teacher, Grandmaster Twahosi, was teaching, you know, I met him in 1988. He left in 2007. And it's interesting that, you know, we're looking for him to come to the United States to teach. I would travel to meet him in other countries. And it's great to be in the presence of the teacher. You get to shake his hand. You get to eat dinner with him. You get crack jokes, listen to him, learn, right? So after he left the body, all of us were very sad because, again, it's human nature. We're fixated. We're so used to what? Everything that goes with it. Go, no. Just want to hear him, talk to him. That's still 3-dimensional space. You're listening, you're seeing, you're touching. Okay? Here's the interesting thing that happened. After he left the body, the teachings of pranic healing actually took off like a rocket. It actually spread faster. The question is why? Many people said, it's the weirdest thing. I actually feel his presence. I sense his presence more now that he's not in the body. So the way I explained it to them was as simple as this. Before, you have the physical form. And our perception of 3-dimensional world is the teacher is here. The teacher is teaching. I'm listening, I'm watching. Make sense? But when the teacher's body was dropped, the teacher is just pure energy. There's nothing for a 3-dimensional perceptions to grab a hold of. So what do we try to do? What they had to do, we just get, oh, whatever. Anyway, we give up. So when we're not fixated in the physical realm, guess what happens? You go within, you do a meditation because the teacher said, do this meditation, do this, do that, do this. So we notice that when we start doing more meditation, when we meditate, you're actually going beyond the 3 dimensions. You're still using the physical body, the emotions, the thoughts, and you know what you smell, touch, and everything as a stepping stone to go to the higher dimensions. But at that point, you experience stillness. You're already beyond the 3 dimensions. Consciousness radiates everywhere. So at that point, wow, I sense the presence of the teacher more. It's not like he came over, he left. It's just there. That's it. I think most of your minds are blown. I think I should stop here. Otherwise, if I keep going, you guys might not be able to sleep. On to another time. Anyway, here's the takeaway. You want to experience those higher dimensions as in experience. Not see, feel, touch, as in experience. Like, okay, I'll oversimplify it for you. Remember what I told you about the clairvoyant who's very advanced? When that clairvoyant's looking at this box, physically they see a box. So height, length, width. But when they tune in to the essence of the box, their consciousness permeates the entire box. So when their consciousness permeates the entire box, there is no box. However, if they wanted to, they can experience what's inside the box, the surface of the box, and outside the box. That's it. And then if you have a good teacher, then you start to realize, okay, I'm perceiving inside, outside, top, bottom, that's fourth dimension. I'm also perceiving what is this box before it came to physical experience. Now you're dealing simultaneously with the dimension of time thrown in there. I think you hit enough. All right, shall we? To the Divine Supreme God, Divine Father, Mother, we humbly ask for your blessings. To my teacher, Master Tsokok Sui Mahagu Jumeling. To all the higher beings, we thank you for divine light, love, guidance. Thank you for healing, help, and divine protection. We thank you in full faith. So be it. Okay, let's meditate. We'll do a short one. I think that alone, just listening, was already enough meditation for you. Okay, tap your crown. Put your hand like this. Be aware of your crown. I am that. I'm not the body. I'm not the emotion. I'm not the thoughts. I am the soul. A spiritual being, a multi-dimensional being that has intelligence, the ability to love, and power. That am I. I am the soul, the spiritual self. I am connected in one to my higher soul. I am connected in one to the divine spark in me. I am a child of God. I am one with God. I am one with all. There is only oneness. We are one. Be still. You are now temporarily releasing and dropping the perception of the three-dimensional world. You're now shedding any emotions and thoughts. What's left is your true being. Be still. Experience your true being now. A being of pure consciousness. Be still. Be aware of your true nature. And just simply allow things to happen and let go now. Let go. I am that. I am. I am that. I am. I am that. I am. That I am is one with the universal I am. I am one with the universal I am. So it is. Be still. Gently, slowly, very gently and slowly, come back to your body. Move your fingers, move your toes. Gently and slowly come back. Take your time. When you're ready, open your eyes. Welcome back to the three-dimensional world. Give me some comments, will you? Let me know if you were able to have a deeper knowingness of this going beyond the three-dimensional space during that meditation. Okay? Let me know. I like to hear that. And then if it's too much for you, let me know too, because I know some of you drag your family members. Hey, listen to this guy guide you meditation. And here I am weirding them out. Oops, sorry. So, okay? I'd like to hear from you. Let me know. Now, I have an inside tip for you. Some of you might notice, how did you do that? And one of the main comments I usually hear from people says, I can't meditate. I haven't been able to meditate. But for some reason, when you're guiding the meditation, I was able to go deep. That happens. That's probably one of the biggest comments, most common comments I get from Tony Robbins, Unleash the Power Within, because you get thousands of people, and the number one comment they always say is, I've never been able to meditate, but somehow you're able to get me there. Okay, I'm not taking credit for it. It's all due to the blessings of my teacher and how he taught me. But here's my point. To sum it all up for you, the reason you are able to get a better glimpse of this fourth, fifth, from whatever dimensional world is because you have the bridge to it. You have the bridge. Where most people, even the scientists, the bridge they have is slowly being built. Which it is. It works, don't get me wrong. Now, in your case, one of the reasons why you're able to kind of move a little faster is because we are harnessing this universal something called prana, life force. Okay? It's not even a force, literally. It's permeating the entire universe. Prana. That's why if you go to India, they call it life's breath. Permeates everything. So with this prana, this chi, universal ocean of chi and life force, prana, that gives you the ability to have your consciousness go beyond the 3 dimensions. Because prana is not material. You can have water that has lots of prana. You can have objects that you have people with prana. But prana can exist by itself without anything physical. So once you're able to understand that prana, you already open the door to having an experience that you are a multidimensional being. That's it. Very simple. That's why some of you are asking, yeah, I want to attend Arhatic Yoga and these higher classes that you teach. Why do I have to take pranic healing? Why does it have to be a prerequisite? Because without substantially be able to regulate, control, manipulate prana, it's just another spiritual practice. But if you understand how prana works, your aura, your chakras, how it works together, then your spiritual practice is more, how do you call it? It's deeper because you're now tapping into the very substance of the universe. That's it. Okay? And so for some of you who have not yet attended a pranic healing class, go to your country, wherever you are, and look for the nearest pranic healing center. Now, if you go to mexico.org/events, okay, we have a schedule for the classes that are coming up. Attend the class so you have a better understanding how to use this energy. First and foremost, how to heal yourself and other people. And from there, once you know how to use that energy, it can be used for healing other people. It can be used for creating psychic protection. It can even be used to create prosperity and abundance. It's all energy. But most people, they say energy. It's such a metaphor, a broad term. They don't realize it's the fabric of the universe. That's it. Oh, I'll leave you with one thought. Okay, keep your tongue on your palate. Open your palms. You see, this so-called fabric is beyond 3 dimensions, right? So that also means you and I, all of us, are one. So close your eyes. Just a little bonus for you. Let's see if we just tap energetically, just tap a certain vibration. See if the ripples will do something to your crown chakra. Okay, close your eyes. Be still. We'll take it one step higher. Be still. Allow yourself to experience your true essence. A being of pure energy and consciousness. Be still. Just silently repeat after me. I am one with the universal ocean of consciousness. I am one with the universal ocean of consciousness. I am one. And have always been one with the universal ocean of consciousness. So it is. Let go. Now. We are one. Bliss, Ananda, oneness, now. All right, gently, very slowly, if you want to, come back. Yeah, I couldn't help myself. We're already there. You just need a little bit of tap to send you off into the energy world. By the way, some of you might be wondering, yeah, what did you do? Because I felt like almost an undulation, like a wave of something. It's as simple as this. Once you understand how this so-called space-time works, essentially what happened, they call it gravitational fields. So when two novas or whatever explode in the middle of somewhere like millions of light years away, you just like imagine you have a piece of cloth that's very tight. You tap like this, the energy keeps going like that. And since there's no resistance in space, that field just keeps radiating. So it's going to the Earth, going to all the planets. In that same manner, in the spiritual world, it's the same thing. When that spiritual force is given a little tap, depending who's doing it, the intention could trigger your crown chakra, awaken the energy in your soul, whatever. It's all energy. Okay? Anyway, sorry, I know we went way over time. It's almost an hour. I hope you got something out of it. I'd like to hear your comments. If it's too much for you, I can easily cut it down. Hey, I can get to go get dinner earlier. But if you're interested, we can dive deeper into it next time. Okay, we just scratched the surface, literally. And for some of you, I will see you next week. Physically, I'll be in Austin, Texas at Tony Robbins event. Some of you I'll be seeing there. So next week, just to kind of have a heads up, the schedule for Anchor Light might be adjusted because I'll be on stage and so on, and I'll be doing service over there. So we'll let you know ahead of time. Okay? Namaste, everyone. You all take care. I wish you a wonderful night, wonderful day, wherever you are. God bless. And we will see you Friday. This coming Friday morning, Friday evening is going to be morning is prosperity healing. The evening one is emotional healing. Remember, we rotated. Okay? It's next week that changes because I won't be in town. Namaste. You all take care. We'll see you next time. God bless.